Welcome to a new segment on Future Media, and it starts with some exciting news. My reports and podcasts on Future Media have led to me being discovered and signed up as a tech commentator on a new and fast-growing digital station called Disrupt Radio. Sir Bob Geldof is among its backers, and it speaks to an audience of progressive, tech-minded thinkers and entrepreneurs just like us, who share a vision for a better internet and a stronger, more competitive digital economy. This is my first appearance. We dive into the Google antitrust trial currently underway in the US and explore what the implications might be for everyone, entrepreneurs and the digital economy alike. You can also listen to Disrupt live at www.disrupt.radio. Hope you enjoy it.
This is Muller with George McEncrow on Disrupt Radio.
Now, a lot of people might wonder if it's ever possible to break up a private giant company like Google. Is it a monopoly? Is it too big? Well, you can actually do it. And in fact, it has been done before. We prepared this a little earlier.
Back in 1911, a seismic shift happened in the business world, the breakup of Standard Oil. Founded by J.D. Rockefeller in 1870, this oil behemoth had a tight grip on the industry, but it wasn't playing fair. Accusations of dirty dealings like crushing competition and striking secret deals with railroads made the rounds. The US Supreme Court had seen enough, citing the Sherman Antitrust Act. They ordered Standard Oil to split up into 34 different companies. This was a game changer. It set the stage for breaking up giant companies with shady practices, setting the tone for fair competition and consumer protection. Out of the split emerged big names in the oil world, such as Exxon, Mobil and Chevron, each carving their niche in different regions. The Standard Oil breakup jolted the oil industry, shaking up the status quo and laying the foundation for more competition and innovation. It didn't solve everything, but it sure put a dent in the dominance of Standard Oil. In a nutshell, the 1911 breakup of Standard Oil was a monumental event in American business history. It took down a juggernaut, established a benchmark for antitrust action and reshaped the oil industry as we know it today. Could this be the road prosecutors go down with regards to Google and Amazon? Only time will tell.
That is our topic. We're looking at whether Google has become too big and what can we do about it. Is it anti-competitive? Well, the US prosecutors have accused Google of using its deep pockets and its status as being, the world leader in technology and the dominant search engine to do, just whatever it likes without any sense of competition, buys out rivals. To discuss what this means, we have Ricky Sutton, who is the founder and CEO of Oovo. Welcome.
Good morning.
It's great to have you here, Ricky.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much. My first time.
Yes, but I don't think it'll be your last. So tell me, what are the implications for Google? What does it mean to be anti-competitive? Who are these rivals that are being gobbled up?
Yes, I think that I've been following the trial. I've been on the Google bandwagon now for about 10 years, actually, worrying very much about just how much impact its dominance can have, not so much on big business, that's definitely true, but it's actually on every single one of us, all of us. We have not really seen search change in 20 years. And the changes we have seen have not been to our benefit, they've been to Google's benefit. And so we haven't seen really smart innovation. It seems very odd that when we've seen everything else change, electric cars, everything that we've seen change in society has improved exponentially in 20 years, but search hasn't. And so the Department of Justice and the US government and other courts all over the world are investigating whether Google's total dominance, it controls 91% of all search queries worldwide, whether Google's dominance has actually held back the future. And that's the test that they're looking at. They're also very interested in Google's dominance and how they got there. So the easiest thing to point at as evidence is that Google pays, the number's never been publicly announced, but somewhere between $8 and $18 billion a year to Apple to be the default search engine on Safari and on iPhones. And combined with Google owning Android, the other mobile phone manufacturer, that gives them total market control. And so really the question that everybody's asking is, are the laws good enough to break up Google to enable us to have a new era of innovation in search and in the web? Or is Google just bigger than the law now and we need a new law? So that's where we're at.
I think I had a personal experience of this when I was running Sheba. We had Google Maps. We had to be able to estimate the cost of a fare. So Sheba was a ride-sharing company that I built for women, and you had to be able to, a passenger had to be able to search and make an estimate. That was part of the laws here in Australia, and to be told that in advance. And then, of course, drivers, we had to keep that data. So if anyone queried a bill, drivers, it was all very transparent where people were going and the shortest route and all of that. We went from having an annual subscription fee to then being charged per hit on their server. So every time our cars had to call on the API, we were being charged a fee. And it was devastating to our bottom line. And again, I thought about the power of Google. Like, who else do you go to provide that kind of information, and to just be able to flip your fee structure like that without any warning, no correspondence to be entered into, from something that was about $5,000 a year to, the first bill came in at over $100,000. We're like, whoa, this is going to kill us. That's a really tricky thing.
This is a key test of the antitrust discussion trial. I mean, it's a trial, right? It's a legal trial in the US. It is whether or not innovations across the entire web have been held back by Google's dominance. So Google stopped being a search engine by most people's analysis sometime in the mid 2000s. So 2004, 2005, maybe, when it bought DoubleClick, which was an ad company that it bought. And a lot of people at the time said Google shouldn't be allowed to buy DoubleClick because that means that they're in charge of both the discovery of the content, but also the monetization of that content. And it effectively meant that anybody that was on the web with a website that wanted to get traffic, that wanted to be found, had to go to Google. But now Google was going to charge an ad on the way through, which was effectively a tax for anybody on the web to be able to find the thing they were looking for. So Google set itself out to be a search engine. I'm going to help you organize the world's information. But what we actually saw here was that Google said, I'm actually going to tax everyone to get to the world's information. That's not the same thing.
No, it's not.
And so, no, it's not. And so a lot of people and a lot of companies just either couldn't afford to get the traffic they needed to thrive and become great. So we've no idea how many companies kind of died in the cradle. We'll never know. And also, not only that, but also Google then used that dominance to make more and more money to then tighten and tighten and tighten to the point that, as you're saying, that APIs and others were charged for. So Google isn't a search company.
No.
Okay, I think that's the important thing to recognize. It is a very powerful commercial advertising and tech company that had started off as a search company. And there's nothing intrinsically wrong in that, unless it suffocates the entire industry it serves, at which point it's biting the hand that it feeds. And so the question when I look at this case, and this isn't the legal test, but I think it's the test that all of us care about most, is do we have a better internet because of Google? And I just don't think that we do.
No, I don't think we do. And I also think it's worth asking, if you are dissatisfied with Google, are there other options and alternatives that they don't also have a slice of?
There are multiple other search engines, but we've heard in this trial, Sundar Pichai, the CEO of, Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, stood up in court and said Google's dominance is such that the world wakes up, has a coffee, and logs onto Google. That was what he said, and he's their main competitor. He said that they'd spent $100 billion on Bing to try and create a competitive search engine, but were only ever able to get to 3% market share.
Yeah.
So if you want to know how dominant Google is, if you're Microsoft with $100 billion, you still can't make a scratch. And the feedback as well from other search engines, DuckDuckGo have been in the court. What they've all said is that if we had the data Google has, our search engines would be better. And many independent analysis says that's true. But the problem is they can't get access to the data because Google keeps it.
Yes.
So if you're Bing and you had Google's data, how good could Bing be? If DuckDuckGo had it, how good could that be? I mean, there's a search engine called Ecosia that actually uses the money it makes from search to plant trees. How good would that be? And so I think that we don't have a choice because everybody else's car is stuck on the lot because Google owns all the petrol and we just can't get out the door.
Oh, that's a lovely analogy. We've got to take a little break and then we'll come back and I want to ask some, as a user or consumer, what this means for people on the receiving end of this. Ricky Sutton is my guest. I'll be back shortly.
The interview took a short break for an ad. Now we discuss what the impact will be on everyday people who rely on the web and search, and what will happen if Google loses the case and is broken up. Back to my interview on Disrupt Radio.
This is Muller with George McEncroe on Disrupt Radio.
Hey Google, turn the kitchen lights off.
Okay, turning the kitchen lights off.
Come on, let's play Monopoly. Cash fun and ritzy property. I'll build a house and watch my fortune grow.
Yeah, that's Google. They've got quite the monopoly. And they are the subject of an antitrust trial. Following that, in the front seat, is Ricky Sutton, who is well across the whole Silicon Valley in tech, AI, founder and CEO of Uvu. Ricky, thank you so much for giving us your insights on this. What does that mean for the average consumer? Say you're not a business, you're just a person who's, as they said, getting up, having a cup of coffee, flicking to Google. If Google is found to be in breach of the laws?
Well, I think there's an impact on everyone, whether they win the case or lose the case, to be honest. I think that if they win the case, we're going to maintain the status quo. There are going to be years of appeals. And Google is going to carry on be building an ever more dominant position in the web because it's just been told that's okay. Mm-hmm. And it already owns, it's a I think the latest number, $1.7 trillion company today.
It's not bad.
And it's got AI coming and it owns all the data. And so the chances are it will double in size again, which means it'll have twice its dominance, which means that virtually everything any of us do on the web will touch Google somewhere or other. Okay. And we have to feel that we're okay with that. That's what happens if they win. Okay. If they lose, then it's probably going to be a faster and more profound impact on all of us as consumers, because suddenly it's likely that the company, and who knows what the court will decide if they lose, okay? And it will take a long time as well. It's probably 18 months to 2 years away before all of these changes would happen. But they could theoretically break Google up. They could say that search is not allowed to be commercial, and the data from search is not allowed to inform Google's ad business anymore, and that YouTube isn't allowed to be part of Google anymore and should be a competitor to Google.
Yeah.
And all of these pieces should become independent. Now, as a founder, and as I know you are as well, as a founder, the best opportunities are found in chaos, not in monopoly.
Sure.
Okay. And so that would be very disruptive for the web. And that can be a little bit frightening for everybody because it changes everything that you know.
Exciting,
but
though.
That doesn't, it does mean it's exciting because who knows what emerges from that. And so Google's kind of dropped the ball on AI. It was behind, and there's a whole load of reasons for that, but they were behind. Microsoft has seized the initiative in AI with ChatGPT, which it owns 49% of. And suddenly the web's going to look very, very different. So is it I guess the question I pose to everybody is would you be happy with a short-term period of disruption in the web if what we get back at the end of it, when the pieces have all fallen back together, is better for all of us?
Yes.
And for me, the answer is it's yes for me too, right?
Yeah.
Because right now, all of us are in business. Loads of us have got a side hustle. Load of us want to do really cool stuff on the web and use it for all the things we can do, but we just can't get a voice because the skyline we're shooting for is filled with a giant blimp that's Google, and there's just no airspace.
Yeah, I think that anti-democratic notion that is what it sort of hits to, doesn't it? It's like, in spite of how hard you work, there is literally, it's like having a boot on your throat, and you cannot get out from under it without paying the piper at some point. You have to continue to work alongside essentially a giant bully. And I don't think these happen intentionally. I don't think founders and executives sit down and think, how will we stomp out innovation and excitement? But they don't stay hungry, I guess, is the issue. And that's probably why Microsoft has done well. I have a theory that Microsoft really jumped on AI because they have an appetite still, as enormous as they are. They are still, hungry for a space that can be theirs.
100%. But I'll tell you this though, right? And I bet your audience here feel the same way. We have a billion ideas that need to take to the sky. We have a billion new ideas to how to build the web. It's meant to be a democratization of opportunity, okay? And it isn't that anymore. It's owned, right? The internet is owned. Tim Berners-Lee, the guy who created the internet at the very beginning, is on record as saying, I created an internet, but it's not there anymore. It's Google's internet. It was never intended to be a commercial enterprise. And it was intended to be a new method for all of humanity to collaborate, share, and build cool things. And I hate the idea that we're not having the opportunity to do that because one company is heading to trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. And so I think you just take a baseball bat to it and you smash it like a piñata.
Oh, I love it.
And then say, all right, let's build the next thing.
Oh, I love a bit of violence in the morning. It's a great way to start. No, but I do think it's a great idea to smash it up, generate some disruption that they will not impose upon themselves. It has to be an external force that does that. And I think, we should learn some lessons for this, given that how hard it is to legislate for technology that does not yet exist. Some broad-based legislation, perhaps, that can prevent this from happening again. And we didn't know how big Google would get. We do have to go to the news, but the next time we come back, I really want to talk to you about lessons to be learned from a Google and the monopoly that has somehow taken all the democracy out of the internet. And we will discuss further. Thank you so much for joining me today, Ricky Sutton, founder and CEO of Uvu.
Wake up and
Thanks for listening. I know your time is valuable. The future of the web will impact on us all and the generations that come after us. At the US antitrust trial, we heard Satya Nadella bemoan that the web has been stolen by Google, and anyone who wants to play, earn, or innovate on it has no choice but to do it on Google's terms. That's not the internet I signed up for, and I suspect it's not yours either. Subscribe to Future Media and invite your friends to as well. We will invest your subscription payments to explore, report, and shape the collision of big tech with news media to create a better future for all, not just a few. See you next time. And stay tuned to Disrupt at www.disrupt.radio.